Hey everyone, Dave here. Just want to do a quick day two, end of day two, beginning of day three podcast update on Handgun Nationals, aka Iron Sight Nationals, with the addition of limited optics. All right, so on the screen you can see I've created a chart showing everybody standing, what their maximum available points are, and who could finish where. So we're going to look at the overall scheme here, and then we're going to break it down by division. So we're looking at limited production revolver, single stack, and limited optics. Right now, there's you have Scott Brown, who has a 112 point lead. I'm sorry, 126 point lead in limited over the number two individual in that division right now. So Scott's first, Joey Sauerland, Shane Coley's third, Robert Crow is fourth, and I put John Browning and Jonathan Miller in here both because there's only 3 points separating them. So if you look at it from an overall point standpoint, that difference is negligible. I mean, we're talking less, one stage determines that very easily. In production, you have Tyler Turner, followed by Nils, JJ, Mason Lane, John Treat. Revolver, Michael Poggi, James McGinty, and then there's a big gap. So it's really those two and then everybody else. And then Alex Bakken, Garen Singleton, and Jay Slater. We'll get into each one of these, like I said, in more depth here in a moment. You have single stack with Elias Frangoulis, who has a 119 point lead on number two. So really, that's another one. There's such a big gap that he's pretty much, unless something drastic happens, he's got it locked up. And limited optics, I'm sorry, you then have John Vlieger, Jeff Cawthon, Rob Latham, and Hennon Walgren. We'll get into that more too because those four are very tight. Limited optics. You have Max Leograndis with a 63, 60, wait, 40, 61, I'm sorry, 61 point lead in limited optics over KC, followed by Tom Castro, Trace Decker, and Cameron Templin is fifth. Now, let's get into this a little bit more detail. So you have 8 stages for the super squads. Now you have 8 stages remaining tomorrow. 850 points total, 4 large field stages. Now this is going through the practice score competitor app based on what it says each stage is worth, and they're shooting 14 through 21. Now, I have limited up on the screen with Scott Brown with a 126 point lead, and I'm saying that it's a boring race. And it is for first because I mean, obviously Scott ate his Wheaties and he is owning this place, literally owning it. Holy cow. Commanding lead. He has 6 stage wins. Joey Sauerland, who is still shooting well, 3 stage wins. Gianni Giordani has 3 stage wins. Jack Brown has the other. So out of 13 stages, only 4 people have limited stage wins. And that's it. They pretty much shut out everybody else. Now, so Scott is running away with it. Unless he doesn't make it to the match tomorrow or he has a catastrophic failure, he gets DQ'd, something weird happens, pretty much a done deal. If he just shoots conservative, I don't see how you make up 126 points on the guy. But you have Joey, Shane, and Robert Crow. You could say John Browning and John Miller are on the outside edge of being able to make it to second place, but that would be a huge jump. Right now, though, you have Robert Crow, Shane Coley, and Joey Sauerland, as I said, all within, what is it, 37 points of each other. So that is a battle right there. So second, third, and fourth are still in play. And looking at fifth, you would think John Browning or Jonathan Miller would take it, but who knows? Right now, Jonathan Miller has a 26-point lead on number 6 or 7, I should say, seventh place. So you've got a little bit of a gap there. But the second, third, and fourth definitely all up for grabs here. And we'll have to see how it plays out. So again, looks like Scott Brown's going to be your 2023 limited national champion. He doesn't have to worry about Nils and his Canic this year. So speaking of Nils and his Canic, let's talk production. Again, 8 stages, 850 points, 4 large field stages. Now, this look is a little different because Tyler Turner is not on the super squad and he's not shooting the same stages. So again, the placement that I have here on the screen is based on the practice score competitor app showing the maximum number of points that they can end up with at the end of the match. So Tyler Turner right now leads production, and he can maximize his finish at 1,954 points. 15 points behind that is Nils. JJ is right behind that. I say right behind that. It's like 70 some odd points. 77 points, I believe. And then Mason is 60 points behind JJ. And John Treat is another 16 points behind Mason. So that's where we stand. Now, the difference is Tyler has, I believe, let me just confirm here. I believe he has zone 2 tomorrow. He does. Yeah. Where in the world? Yes, there we go. He has zone 2 to finish tomorrow. Not as big a stage or a zone. There's only 6. Yeah, there are. No. There are 7. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stages. And it's the second most number of points. So he's going to have to maximize that to try to stay ahead of Nils. Now, there it is right there on the screen. He has 7 left, 8 through 13. Actually, it's 7 through 13, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it's actually 7 through 13, not 8. Now, Nils has production stage wins in 9, 11, and 13. And Tyler has won stages 16, 17, and 20. Now, the difference is, here's the interesting part. Those 3 stage wins for Nils, Tyler is shooting tomorrow. So that means Tyler's going to have to outdo him there, or at least try to maintain. And Tyler has won 16, 17, and 20. So now Nils is going to have to see what he can do on those stages. So it'll be interesting. But head to head, so zone 1 is the only zone these two have both shot. And when you compare them, there were 7, maybe there's only 6. Oh, no, I was wrong, actually. So tomorrow, there are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, there's only 6 stages for Tyler, not 7. So I stand corrected. So they have zone 1 is 7 stages. That's the only zone that both of them have shot. And out of those 7 stages, Nils has placed ahead of Tyler 6 out of the 7. Tomorrow's a whole new day. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that so far, That's the only zone I can compare head to head because that's the only zone they've shot. Um, Again, it's day 3, so this is very interesting. I'm not really sure where to go with this. I would say history probably favors Nils just because of the experience of being in this situation. I don't think he gets rattled with any type of pressure like this. So um, I would have to give him the advantage in this situation. But Nils has all the big field stages tomorrow, and I don't. He does well in those, so I don't know. He's not a speed shooter. He's not, as he said, he's not quick like an Isaac Lockwood, Jay Beal, those types of guys. Um, but you put him in a large field stage, and he's going to perform well. He's very, very consistent. So this is going to be a very interesting one to follow tomorrow. Now let's look at the rest. Like I said, there's a 77-point difference between Nils and JJ, then another 60-point difference between JJ and Mason. So I would say that JJ might make up a little room, but I don't think he's going to make up 77 points. So really, this is a number 1 and number 2 battle between Tyler Turner and Nils. JJ's probably going to end up 3rd. Mason's probably going to end up in 4th as long as he shoots like he can shoot. And John Treat, let me see what we have here for Phil Strader's behind him. And hey, look, Phil's only 7 points behind John Treat. So and Brian Giovannini is 15 points behind Phil. So there is room for others to come up into the top 5. It would be a little bit more of a stretch to get them all the way up to Mason, and pretty much I would say a negative to be able to catch up with JJ. So that's what production is looking like. We could have a new, meaning new as in never won a national championship person as number 1. Who knows? We'll have to keep an eye on it and track it tomorrow. Now let's move over to Revolver. Again, they have 8 stages, 850 points, 4 large field stages. This race is between 2 people and 2 people only, and that's James McGinty and Michael Poggi. Michael Poggi's in first. He has a 24-point lead on James McGinty heading into day 3, and nobody's beaten Michael Poggi in years. So this will be very interesting. But here's what I want to point out. These two are literally shooting as well as everyone else at nationals. They can literally beat everyone but Scott Brown, Elias Frangoulis, and Max Leograndis. They can beat Nils. They can beat Tyler Turner. They can beat JJ, everybody, and they're shooting Revolver. These dudes are crushing it, absolutely crushing it. So, and I noticed that I have a typo on my screen here. Scott Brownwa. Wow. Okay. But anyway, and Garen Singleton, I want to point that out. You have Jay Slater in 5th. Jay is no slouch. All right. As a Revolver shooter. But Garen Singleton, first time shooting Revolver nationals, not a Revolver shooter by trade, is in 4th place. And he actually has a 38 point lead on Jay. That's actually pretty shocking. But I want to point out the reason why I say that the races between Michael Poggi and James McGinty is James is in 2nd. The gap between 2nd and 3rd is 139 points. So that, again, unless there's a catastrophic failure in there for James or Michael, this is not happening. This is a James and Michael race. Everybody else just hopes to finish. All right, single stack. Elias Frangulis. Here's another dominating lead. This guy has a 119-point lead on John Vlieger. Now, this is what I said we'd get to. Only 34 points separate John Vlieger at number 2 and Henning Wahlgren at number 5. That's it. 34 points. You have Jeff Cawthon in third. He's 20 points behind John Vlieger. You have Rob Latham. Look at that. He just won't go away. The GOAT. He is in fourth place. He's only 13 points behind Jeff. Now, what we have to take into consideration here is Rob and his ability to move. It'll be interesting to see where he places tomorrow because, again, you have the 4 large field stages, which is probably his most difficult style of shooting just because of mobility. So it'll be interesting. I hope he stays in the top 5. I think that's awesome. And Henning Wahlgren is in 5th. So it should be interesting to see where these guys finish up tomorrow. All right, last but not least, limited optics. Now, who would have guessed this? Going into day 3, Max Leograndis has a 61-point lead over KC Eusebio. Now, Max did really well last year at Carry Optics Nationals. He placed really well. I want to say top 20. I know top 30, but it may be top 20, and won master class in Carry Optics. So here he is in limited optics. He still has a maximum. Let's see what we've got here. Let's check something. I want to see what he has. Yes. So he is in zone 3 tomorrow. So he does have the field stages, all of that. Now Max Leograndis has 5 stage wins. KC has 4 stage wins. And Spikowski, I'm not sure how to say the other gentleman's name. I'm trying to see. It's not going to give me any help anyway. You know what? I'm just going to call him Nugget. Sorry. I know I'm not saying your name right. And Matt Hempel and Rob Epifania, those are the other stage winners. Now, what you have here is Max with his 61-point lead, as long as nothing crazy happens, should be able to hang on to that lead, okay? I'm not saying he has to shoot conservative. I'm just saying as long as he shoots them well and doesn't have any major goofs or mistakes or equipment issues, whatever, he should be able to maintain his lead. Now, KC is only 32 points ahead of Tom Castro, who's in third. So second and third are not decided. Now there is a gap between Tom and Trace Decker. There's a 43-point gap there. But there's only a 13-point gap between Trace Decker and Cameron Templin, and they're in 4th and 5th. So that should be an easy one. I'm trying to find limited optics here real quick. And yeah, Andrew Hyder is 53 points behind 5th place, pulling up in 6th. So what you see on the board, there shouldn't be a whole lot of changes. But what you could see is maybe Cameron overtaking Trace or Tom overtaking KC for second. Things like that can definitely happen. And hey, again, as long as Max doesn't have any major issues, he should pull off the win, but it's not guaranteed. Tomorrow is Sunday and it is football season. And you know the old saying, any given Sunday. So there you have it. There's your standings. That's what we've got. And I'll be back tomorrow and we'll wrap this Nationals up.